Hello, everyone. I'm Lowri from Sgil Cymru. I'm a project manager and I look after the apprentices up in North Wales. And today I'm talking to two ex-apprentices and one current apprentice. So we've got Elin Glyn Jones from Felinheli, Fiorella Roberts from Porthmadog, and Flo Baverstock from Bangor. So welcome, all three of you.
Yeah.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me this morning. So I just thought it would be really nice to chat to all three of you on this podcast about your recent experience of all working on quite a mad feature film called Madfabulous, which is about the very eccentric Marquis of Anglesey, who's quite a well-known character. And it's what I'd like to talk about really is that Elin, you from the first cohorts of apprentices that we've done in North Wales, you joined us in 2021. Fiorella, you're from the second cohort, you joined us in 2023, and Flo is a current apprentice, one of four that we've got in this year's cohort. So shall we start with talking a little bit about your background? So Elin, you were one of our first guinea pigs, weren't you? One of the first ex to have an apprenticeship in North Wales. So what's your background? Did you have any TV or film experience? What did you do after you left school?
I went to do a music degree at university, but I got into film. I've always loved films, but I had a module called Audio for Media whilst at university, and I really enjoyed it. And I found that after leaving university, it was something that I'd like to do more of. So in the last months of my degree, I sent out a bunch of emails to different production companies asking for some work experience. I was fortunate enough to get 2 weeks experience on BBC.
On the Trick.
On the Trick, yeah. And I really enjoyed it, and I thought that's what I want to do. So I looked for ways that I can make that happen and came across Sgil Cymru.
Well, I remember you on the Trick because I was the location manager on it, and I remember you coming on your work experience for with the sound department. Did you think then that the sound department was going to be your place?
I did, yeah. With my background in music, I thought recording sound was going to be what I wanted to do, but I've since found out that whilst it was a good way to get in, I have enjoyed a lot of the other things I've been doing as well. So just been doing a bit of everything.
Yeah. So what about you, Fiorella? What did you do when you left school? I know you've had a bit of a journey, haven't you? Because I've worked with you on different things over the years as well.
When I finished school, I went to college to do art. And then I went to university in London to do technical arts and special effects. During that time, I realised I wanted to do more of the makeup side of special effects and things like that. So once I left, I worked for a year and I went to college in South Wales to do a media makeup course. During that time, I would do photo shoots and like any type of experience I could get, I would do it. And I got involved with the Bridge End Youth Theatre, which led me to It's My Shout, where I met Lowri. Yeah, and then I started working in the industry as a makeup artist, but I had a back injury, so I stopped because I couldn't carry my kit physically, so I couldn't do anything. And then I was working in a shop and I saw an advertisement for Sgil Cymru, and I just applied for it on a whim because I wasn't happy in my job, and I was like, I want to go back into film and TV and stuff, and I got onto Sgil Cymru, so yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And as soon as I saw your application, I thought, wow, great. She's going to give it another bash. So do you mind me asking how old you are? You don't have to tell me. A lady never has to say.
I'm 35.
See, you're 35, and that was a very brave thing that you did to try again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Are you glad you've done it?
So glad. So glad.
Life-changing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for me, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you came to the apprenticeship. Well, so did you, Elin, and just gave everything 100%, which showed how serious you were about it. And Flo, what about you? You're our current apprentice. You've been with us since August now. You've been, where did you start? What did you do when you left school?
Well, I went to college for fashion, and I enjoyed it, but I constantly got criticism that I was too costumey. And I thought, well, I love costumes, so I'll lean in to
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then I went to university for costume, but it was peak COVID 2020, and it wasn't what I expected it to be. So I did a term and then I left, sort of doing costume as a hobby. When I started working at Donkey Sanctuary, where my boss um, knew that I was still doing costume as a hobby, and she saw the advertisement for Sgil Cymru come up, and I was like, oh, I know someone who did that, and I applied, and here we are.
Oh, well, isn't it amazing
Brilliant.
how, because your boss saw that advert, then you were able to apply for it. And then, of course, your friend is Kai,
Yeah.
who was with us last year at the same cohort as Fiorella. So it's quite a small world, isn't it? But sometimes it shows you when something is right for you at the right time, it will come to you. And
everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. I totally believe in that. So yeah. So then back to Elin. What made you apply for an apprenticeship rather than just keep looking on your own for work? You could have just been home, sending out your CVs, contacting people. What made you think the apprenticeship would be a good option for you?
When I sent my CVs off in my last term of uni, I sent about 100 off and I only got one reply.
Oh, that's terrible, isn't it? That's really
yeah.
bad.
And one of my greatest faults is that I'm incredibly impatient, and waiting for that next one out of 100 to contact me, it would drive me insane. So I wanted something that would get me experience, and I thought that is what apprenticeships are. You work as you learn, and that was ideal, really. So I found it. It was, yeah, I saw it first in, I think it was early August, and I read the application form and it said not suitable for graduates, and I did worry. And I put it off for another couple of weeks, and then I just decided that I'm going to apply anyway. The worst they can say no.
Most people can say is no, you're quite right. And look where you are now as a result of it. So, and what was a shame for your cohort was that we were still in COVID, weren't we? And COVID protocols were still in place on production. So it wasn't an easy time, really.
No.
No. And what about you, Fiorella? When you said that you thought, well, I'll just apply for it, did you think, well, it's a year, I'll give it a shot and see what happens?
Basically, yeah. I think the fact that you were getting a wage from it pushed me, because I knew otherwise I don't think I would have tried by myself again, because there's just so much rejection and no responses and stuff when you're doing it. And I'd gone through that, and I was guaranteed to get placements and stuff on Sgil Cymru. So I thought, take a chance. If it's meant to be, it will work out. And luckily it did for me. So
And also, you all like the fact that you can move from one production to the other, because so it's like being a freelancer, but not having to find the work yourself. But you also have Sgil Cymru support all the way through it. And then you can build up your contacts, can't you? Build up your little black book of people that you need on your side when you've finished your apprenticeship and you fly the nest and go freelance. And we can give you a lot of industry knowledge and experience as well. What about you, Flo? What made you think then, oh yeah, I'm going to go for this? I'm going to give a year of my life to give this a bash.
Honestly, I sort of was in the same kind of ballpark of like, what's the worst that could happen? It sounded brilliant. I knew that other people that had been on it have really enjoyed it. And the idea of finally being able to get sort of your foot in the door and be like, I'm here, and having support to back you up as well. Because there's something quite terrifying about going into a new place full of people that have, more experience. It's like nice having like Sgil Cymru on your side being like, oh yeah, I'm still learning, but also here's backup. And I can now just show you what I do without having to worry about all the paperwork or the things that actually are stressful and boring. I can just enjoy myself and learn. So it's nice having that backup.
That's a really good point, isn't it? When you're going into an industry where everybody else knows what they're doing, and then they're in full flow doing their jobs, and then you come along and nobody expects you to know anything as an apprentice. You're not there to be thrown straight into the deep end and actually do the work without training. You are expect a company that takes you on, have a duty to train you, which is why they take you on in the first place. So, I think you've all done incredibly well being thrown into productions and just cracking on with it, basically. And you've all enjoyed it, haven't you? What did you think of the coursework then for the diploma that you get at the end of the? Did you find it hard or tedious?
I enjoyed it. Writing essays is my thing. No. Yeah, it wasn't difficult. It was, you sort of, as the months went past, it was sort of, oh yeah, you could sort of refer back to that work while you were working. You sort of, it was useful later on. I can't think of an example, but yeah, not tedious, all good, loved it.
I found it really tedious. Like, I'm not academic at all. That's why I did that in school and college. And I think I have a tendency to like overthink and over-explain, which is what I realized when we were going through the coursework with you and Sue. And she was like, "You've already answered it. Why you did keep going?" Like, oh, I didn't realize I needed to be that. It needed to be that simple. Like, I just overanalyze and overthink about everything. So for me, it was tedious, but also it was probably the easiest like schoolwork type thing that I've ever done anyway. So kind of two sides of the coin, really.
That's good. That's good that it wasn't too challenging for you, because I think maybe a lot of people are a little bit frightened of the coursework and they think that they won't be able to do it. But what about you, Flo? I know you've been busy working ever since you joined us.
Yeah.
So you haven't had much downtime yet to work on your units.
No, but I even then, like when I did have bits of downtime, I never felt like there was a wave of coursework coming at me. It always felt like it's come at an easy pace. And when we did the sort of 2 weeks intensive kind of coursework side of it and the training, there was no point where it felt like really, really overwhelming. I definitely agree with Fiorella, like overthinking it is 100% like what the worst part of it. You sit there and you worry about it or you write too much. But like, it's pretty easy and kind of the baseline. The questions themselves are simple. It's just trying to figure out how to answer everything. Yeah. But experience has helped as well. Like I already feel like looking back at some of my work now, having gone on some placements, I feel like, oh well, I kind of feel like I could answer that better now because I've done it a little bit.
Of course,
yeah.
That's good answers, all of you. So what do you think about university or college versus apprenticeship after leaving school? I know hindsight's a wonderful thing, and but what advice would you give to people listening to this now if they're in the sixth form, they don't know what to do, they want to try a career in television or film? What do you think? What personally, what do you think?
I think that if I'd have had the opportunity to do this sooner, I would have, rather than go to university personally. I realized university just wasn't for me. The sculpting part and the creative part of it was fine, but when it came to the academic side of it, I really, really struggled. Not only from like not being very academic, but doing all my coursework all of a sudden going from constantly being in Welsh to English, and I struggled. I couldn't get help with that either, so I struggled a lot. Um, but I think if I'd have done this sooner, I probably would have gone for this rather than going to university.
Yeah, what about you, Flo? Now that you're in it at the moment, what do you think?
I'd probably have to agree. I didn't really plan on going to university. It was more so when I finished college, I originally planned to sort of go and do some searching for work, but because everything shutting down, I thought, well, I'll go to university and I'll give it a try. It might, help out. And it wasn't for me. And I found that the apprenticeship is so much nicer. I'm much more of a doer than a learner, and it's nice to actually well, yeah, to do.
Yeah, yeah. Learning on
So
the
much
job.
better. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you, Elin, I think you probably agree with that, would you?
Yeah. Yeah, when I finished college, it didn't seem like people said, right, apply for UCAS, and I didn't really question it. I just went with it. But obviously my degree is in something different, but I have, like, in reading other people's opinions on it, it's definitely for TV. The experience is more valuable than the theory.
Yeah, I
You,
would
you
agree
can
with
start on a job knowing nothing and finish, and you're still gonna be better off getting that next job because you've got the experience rather than the degree you spent 3 years on.
It was quite a long time ago, and I can't quite remember. But what was the first placement you went on to when you were with us?
My first placement was with Rhondda. I did, it was 8 weeks as a sound trainee. Yeah.
On Round, if I remember correctly.
Yes, on Rhondda Round with Rhondda.
Yeah. And was it what you expected it to be?
Yeah. There were times where I felt a bit, don't know what's the word.
I think it was a difficult time, wasn't it, because of COVID, and they were restricting the amount of people who could go on set in studios. You were all wearing masks, and it wasn't easy, was it?
No.
And then after that, though, you went to work for Chwarel TV in CRIW, and you stayed there. They offered you a full-time job after your apprenticeship finished.
Yeah, so I stayed there for 2 years. Yeah. And yeah, it definitely made me realize that maybe post-production was something that I want to do more of, because I did really enjoy it. Yeah.
So you went from the sound department in around. You went to Chwarel, and then you were in the you went to post-production then straight away, didn't you?
Yeah. I was doing ingest for post-production at the beginning. But about 2 months after I started, a lot of the contracts were coming to an end. So a couple of the assistant editors went on to their next job. So I was able to sort of creep my way up to doing more hands-on stuff with the actual cuts and stuff. So,
but you actually went out on location to do some recording, sound recording, didn't you, as well, with your own equipment, which is amazing.
Yeah, they needed someone. I was there.
Was that on the Grey House giveaway?
Yes.
Channel 4. Yeah, that's That's quite a thing, isn't it? A year after finishing your apprenticeship, that you were doing that.
It wasn't a year after, it was during.
What was during, was it?
It was during, yeah.
That's brilliant, brilliant. And what about you, Fiorella? What did you go on to? What was your first placement?
House of the Dragon.
Oh, yeah, with Warner Brothers and HBO.
Yeah.
Talking about jumping into the fire. Oof.
Yeah, that was an experience. When I signed up, I originally wanted to do script supervising because I genuinely didn't think that I'd be able to go back into makeup because I'd taken such a long break from it. But over the 6 weeks, I managed to move from department to department and ended up in the makeup crowd team. So yeah.
So what were some of your tasks then when you joined the makeup department? What were your daily tasks? Because it was a huge production, wasn't it, really, in North Wales? Hundreds of crew, hundreds of cast.
We were moving a lot, so a lot of it was de-rigging, packing up, sorting stuff out, getting it ready to move, and then unpacking it all. I would get things ready for de-rigging for the end of the day for the essays. So I'd roll the hot flannels ready because no one could leave with their makeup. So we had to make sure that everyone was done. Continuity photos, and then just general prep and taking care of the artists that we have. So a lot of being a makeup trainee is making sure that your artist is taken care of and making their life easier. So breakfast runs, lunch runs, coffee runs, snack runs, anything really.
Yeah, it's just such an important part of the job is to just be really helpful and friendly and just keep the teas and coffees coming. And yeah, and then Flo, your first production was Madfabulous, which is where you met Fiorella and Elin. So
yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah, tell us what you were in the costume department. So tell us, how did you fit into your team and what your tasks were?
I mean, costume was quite crazy, honestly, because the production had some absolutely stunning costumes. And I ended up spending a lot of time with crowds, fitting them, dressing them, and when we're on location, kind of being in charge, making sure everyone had their clothes on, lots and lots of corsets to lace. But it was brilliant, and it worked because we had the designer, and they basically they would come in and check on, and they were always there to sort of be like, oh, I'm not sure about this, can you come and have a look? But they gave me a lot of freedom, which was really brilliant to learn. Like I had the help and support there, but I kind of learn by doing, which is I always learn so much better by that. I like being thrown in the deep end, and it was a perfect production for that, for better or for worse.
Well, you certainly were thrown into the deep end, weren't you? I came to see you out on location when you were in Glyn Jones. Well, I saw all three of you actually, but I saw spent some time with Flo in the costume room, and gosh, it was just the amount of costumes, the intricate costumes. It's quite mind blowing. I'm sure there was a lot of labeling involved with that as well.
So much labeling and bagging everything up, moving from location to location, and then at the very beginning of the production, end of production, checking everything in and out from the costume warehouse, like making sure they all went back. Oh, hours spent doing that.
But only 2 months previously you'd started your apprenticeship, and then 2 months in you were getting this great experience. All three of you were working with some big names. Fiorella, you were in the makeup department with them, weren't you? Yeah, what was that like? A pinch me moment.
I still can't get over it. To work with Nadia Stacey, it was just such an amazing opportunity. And
who is Nadia? Sorry.
Nadia Stacey was the designer, and she is an Oscar-winning makeup artist.
Wow.
So yeah, that was an experience in itself. So
Incredible, absolutely. Elin, you were in the production department because you thought you'd have a little foray into another department just to try and see what it was like. So you were in production, working as a runner.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you think?
I loved it. Yeah, it was really good. I was booking everyone's trains. I was getting them accommodation, booking taxis, and like I was doing a lot of invoicing as well. So I'd be processing invoices, and also we were running around as well, getting stuff for other departments. Yeah. If Flo or Fiorella wanted anything ordered, they'd go, Elin.
I would visit Elin daily in the
Yeah,
office.
she'd be coming up to the office to print.
Elin.
Did you see much of each other then?
I saw Elin every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. I think it took about like a week, I think, for me and Flo to manage to like get time to see each other because we were just both so busy constantly. But a lot of my job was back and forth in production, so I would see Elin all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think she liked seeing me that much, but I enjoyed seeing it.
Yeah, when she saw you, it meant she had to do some work to do some string for you, did it? So, of course, you had some prep time before you started filming, didn't you? So prep time before starting a shoot is just fail to prepare to fail, isn't it? Prep time is essential, and it can be mad. It can be often it can be worse than the actual shoot itself, can't it? So that's probably why Fiorella and Flo didn't manage to bump into each other. So
I feel like we were constantly passing each other. Like it was like there would be like just miss each other, be like, oh, and then gone. Or like, there'd be a brief moment where we'd sit down, the second someone else would sit down, some like we'd have to stand up and go sort something else. Like there's constant like passing in the night.
Was it a great production for making contacts and making new friends?
Absolutely.
So now if we move on to have a little chat about what you've been doing since finishing Madfabulous. What about you, Flo? What have you been?
So I've went on to work on Round, which was a different kind of crazy, but I did enjoy it. It was an interesting to see kind of going from a film to a TV production. Nice to see kind of both sides of it because while they are both busy and you're doing stuff, it is different. But I really enjoyed myself. Yeah, it was nice change of pace, and met some lovely people as well. Yeah.
I think it's that's what we try to do with you on the apprenticeship is make sure that, well, if we're lucky enough to have large productions for you to work on, that you go on and see something like that. But then it's equally as important to see a studio-based, much smaller production, much lower budget, more of a soapy kind of production, ongoing drama. It's important, isn't it? Because not every production you work on is going to be huge, a huge big film or a big series. So it's good for you to see the contrast between the two, and you can enjoy both, can't you?
Yeah, no, I genuinely, it was honestly just a different kind of crazy is the only way I can describe it. But I enjoyed it. I did enjoy myself.
Yeah, good. Well, Fiorella, what have you been doing? Anything exciting?
So I got taken on to the crowd team of Peaky Blinders. Nadia Stacey, the designer from Madfabulous, was also the designer on The Immortal Man. So I got to join the crowd team for that. And it's been a wild few months on that, actually.
That's incredible. Where were you filming? Are you allowed to say? Was it Liverpool?
We were in a lot of places. There was a lot of traveling, a lot of moving around. We were in Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, Birmingham. So I did a day like in south of England. Like it's been a mental few months on that. So
have you loved it? Was it amazing?
every minute of it. I initially went on it for a couple of crowd days, and I just never left, really.
So how long were you on it then? A couple of months?
I was on it for most of the shoot. I was doing fittings for most of it, which is a new experience for me because I've never been in fittings before, and I loved every minute of it. I got to work with a number of different designers, as because we brought everyone into part of the team. But yeah, I had about 6 last days, and they just kept being like, actually, we're gonna have you next week. So it's been quite a great job, actually.
That's amazing. Did you, when you say you were doing fittings, what does that entail then? What does it mean exactly?
So for fittings, we basically, in the crowd team anyway, we get all the essays who will be coming in for big crowd days. We get them in before that, and then we can go over their hair, do their makeup, and then we work alongside costume, where they get their costumes sorted out. But it just makes our day in the crowd room easier because everyone has a plan then of what they need to do.
On the filming day, you mean? Yeah, when they come in on the filming day, you've kind of had a rehearsal, haven't you? A trial run.
Yeah, we were a really small team actually. And then on big crowd days, we'd have like 25 or more makeup artists there with us. So in order for them to know what we wanted for all the essays we had, because we had hundreds of them when we had big crowd days, we would do the hair and the makeup to go with the costume that they would be wearing on the day that way. And then I would go and take photos and then print them out and do the continuity sheets ready for when we had the big day crowd days for filming.
Gosh, well, and of course it's period, isn't it? So it's a lot more complicated than a pair of jeans and a sweatshirt, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Everything's different, isn't it? Locations are different, everything's different.
And I always said when I was training, like I'd never want to do period work.
Oh, really?
But actually, I really, really enjoy it. Like I find modern day just a bit, but I absolutely love doing period work.
And you have wigs and stuff as well. You've done a bit of training with the wigs, haven't you, while you were on the apprenticeship? So yeah.
But, I've done some daily work as well for one of the designers that we were working with, sorry, on in the crowd fittings. So she brought me on, and I went to do a day in London for her current job.
That's fabulous, because that means that once you work on a job, and if you're HOD, your head of department, or the supervisor likes you, sees you're doing good work, chances are they're going to take you on to the next job and then the next job until you maybe fly the nest and go off on your own. But it's just a great way of building up your contacts, isn't it? And building a reputation and getting these productions on your CV. That's what it's all about, isn't it? So, gosh, yeah, well done. Elin, have you been doing anything fun since Madfabulous?
Yeah, so I did the first block of the 3rd series of Gogglebox Cymru as an overnight editor. So did the first block and then the Christmas special just before Christmas, and I did a couple days as a runner on a true crime documentary. But yeah, I've been so it's quite quiet at the moment. So
just winter time and in the industry.
All the time. Well, I also at the end of Madfab, I asked the producer, with permission from my boss, if it would be possible for me to sit in on a couple of days of the edit, which I was allowed to do. So I went down to Cardiff for 3 days over a couple months, just to see the work they were doing and how they were going through.
Wow, well done. You're very proactive. You're really proactive. And what did you think of the edit then for the film? What did it feel like going into the edit?
It was so different, like from the chaos of the shoot to just the editor in a room.
Yeah, the calmness and the isolation in a way. Yeah.
But it was really good because I've not done a scripted post at all. So it was good to see like what his priorities were in terms of how to edit it. It's less about the story, because the story's already there, scripted, and more about the feeling and how to keep that feeling going throughout the entire thing. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
So you saw a different creative side of the process, didn't you? Because it is highly creative, isn't it, editing? Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So what's next for you then? Just keeping yourself busy as a freelancer in between jobs, doing personal things. That's all you can do.
Yeah. It might be going back to do the second block of Gogglebox, and in sort of the month in between, I've been writing a lot, so I'm trying to carry on with that and trying to learn how to do stop motion.
Stop motion. So that's your new thing, is it? Is that your new hobby?
Yeah.
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 But isn't that lovely though, that you have the time in between jobs to be able to pursue a new interest, and everything you do in your downtime will help towards the next job that you do. Everything's an experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, let us know how you get on with it.
Check back with me in about 8 years. That's when it'll be finished.
You'll be the next Wallace and Gromit creator. No,
I watched Wallace and Gromit live when it came out. I was hooked. So good.
You might be that good one day. But well, diolch yn fawr. Thank you ever so much, the three of you. It's been it's been a huge pleasure to see you all together on screen. We're not in person, unfortunately, but it's been a huge pleasure. And thanks for your contribution. And you always know where we are, Sgil Cymru. Once you're with us for life. So we're always at the end of the phone, or at the side of an email if you need any advice or help. And Flo, good luck with the rest of your apprenticeship, and Fiorella and Elin. Yeah, good luck with your next jobs. And diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much.